What's going on, guys? Today I've got an awesome video for you, but first we're going to just take a look at this chart, and this chart is so sad. We're looking at SPY down over 4% today, and this is an insane move. 4% for an index. This is just crazy stuff that's going on in the market right now. So rip to basically the market and everything going on, but hopefully there's things kind of starting to turn around. We had a green day yesterday, and hopefully we'll have more green days in the future. But in this video, we're going to talk about Alibaba stock, and we are specifically going to go over its earnings that are coming up here in about a week. It looks like the 26th or 25th of this month they're going to basically release their earnings. So we're going to touch on some of the things, the good, the bad, the ugly, kind of what's going on with the stock right now, and that's what we're going to get into in this video. So if you like the video, make sure you drop a like down below. If you want to see more videos like this one, make sure you hit that sub button. So today Baba stock is down even more than the market. So they were down 5.11%, which isn't unheard of. They've had a lot of rough days recently, but over the last month they've kind of bounced back and recovered off those rough days. So you kind of see in here, right, they had a very rough week, and then they're kind of bounced back, and then they've kind of just been up and down all over the place. They got up above 100 here, but then dropped all the way back down to the 80s. So it's kind of crazy just how much the stock is moving around, and its price action and everything that's going on. And there hasn't been a whole lot of news surrounding China. I mean, they have opened and closed a couple different cities and different things going on with that, but there hasn't been the big news like there was in the past about the stocks potentially being delisted and things like that. So overall, nothing really crazy going on here other than the stock being down almost 40% in the last 6 months. Over the last year, down 50%. So they kind of topped out, as you can see, back in October of 2020, a little over $300, and down just in almost a straight line since then. So overall, let's take a look now at basically what's coming up and some of the things around Baba stock that are going on right now. So before we jump into the news surrounding Baba stock and some of the factors that are going to go into this earnings and how people react to it, let's take a look at what people are projecting for earnings. And the biggest one up here is basically their estimated earnings per share, and what you have here for the quarter, and this is in US dollars. They also, if you Google it and just go look at the Google search results, they have it in Chinese yen, which is 7 yen and 17 cents, and then 199.9 or $43 billion. And if we convert that into US dollars, which is what Google's done here, or sorry, Yahoo's done here for us, we have an average estimate of around $1.09, with a low estimate of 79 cents, a high estimate of $1.67, and then a year ago, basically what the EPS was, which was around $1.59. So overall, not very good. They're basically projecting a year-over-year decrease for the most part, other than the high estimate. And to mention real quick, there are 18 analysts looking at this stock. So overall, that's a pretty good number. That's decent overall. But really, what's concerning is they're projecting quite a big drop over last year. So nothing too surprising here with all the shutdowns that they've had and China has had overall. You'd kind of expect their earnings to go down. The other big thing is, they're kind of comparable to Amazon. So Amazon obviously had a really poor earnings season. So really, you're not surprised by any of these numbers. The other thing is revenue. So revenue, we have an average revenue target of 29.32 billion, low estimate of 28, and then high estimate of 30.74. So again, kind of similar things going on here. A year ago, though, the revenue they're actually saying was basically lower, or there was lower than what they're projecting the average to be here. So that's kind of interesting that they're actually projecting lower earnings, but around the same amount of revenue. Kind of weird situation there, but anyways, let's go ahead and jump into some of the news around Baba stock. The biggest thing going on for China, for basically all Chinese stocks right now, is the government's zero COVID policy. Basically, that they are shutting down cities in different areas of the country just whenever they see COVID cases ramping up. and that's kind of something a stance that they're taking that's very different from the rest of the world. A lot of places even in Europe and around the world have declared that they believe COVID is now just basically the equivalent of the flu, and they've kind of taken away all their policies. I know the US, I think, has taken away some of their immigration policies, things like that, that were restricting immigration and other things. So they're, the rest of the world is moving away from it. China is, is kind of sticking with their strict policy, which could have something to do with, them being associated with COVID at the very start of everything happening. So a lot of interesting things there going on with the stock, and really, if we jump down to here, you get kind of the full report on what's going on. So Shanghai, they're talking about Shanghai potentially reopening as of June 1st, which that's coming up here in the next couple weeks, but it won't affect this quarter's earnings. It'll be next quarter's earnings. So that's something that'll be a positive overall, or could be seen as a positive by the market. But there's also other areas. So Beijing, they're looking at basically partial lockdowns as COVID intensifies, and different areas around the country basically going into it. And basically, 45 other cities are in various forms of lockdown. There's basically just a lot of, COVID policies in China that are affecting industries and even affecting the US. Down here, they talk about NIO, for example, basically only delivering 5,000 vehicles in April, down 50% from their output in March. And then Tesla also warning consumers that deliveries will be delayed by at least 3 months after losing approximately 57% of their production capacity in Shanghai Gigafactory. So a lot of kind of negative things coming out of China. And even in here, they talk about, how it's affecting the Ukraine war, how overall global supply chain issues aren't going to be resolved just because, China isn't opening up these certain areas. They're trying to, keep their productivity up in China, but overall, they have these work from home type of situations and things going on that are just affecting the economy, in China, and they just can't produce and can't, move goods around as easily as they did before the pandemic. So overall, that's just affecting the global supply chain and gonna affect even the US. So a lot of kind of negativity coming from that side. But I mean, you look at this stock, it's very, very low priced. I mean, you look at a PE ratio right now, forward PE ratio of 12.15, which is just insane. They've lost over 600 billion of their market cap, basically, from their highs, I believe is what this is talking about. So now they're down to, 202 billion. So just insane kind of things going on that are making the stock, putting it at a very low value, or low price, but high value basically for the stock. So very interesting stuff here. If we scroll down a little bit, they talk about the potential recovery. So they're kind of projecting that Alibaba could hit $180 in like 2 to 3 years, which I don't think is a bad projection when you think about the economy and how things will kind of recover over the next year or so. At that point, we should have most of the interest rate concerns kind of figured out. The Fed will have increase rates to potentially probably about where they'll sit at for a while, as long as they see inflation and things taper off and start coming down. So overall, a lot of positive things here. Here they jump into their optimism towards revenue. So revenue, like we saw, they're still projecting an increase compared to last year, but and they're kind of seeing that trend continue overall. They're just seeing a negative sign from the earnings aspect. So a lot of positives. Personally, I still own Alibaba. I have a decently large share for my portfolio size is made up of Alibaba, and I like the stock. I think it's gonna over time go back to levels that we've seen in the past, whether it's 300, I don't know. I think 200 is not, you know, out of the realm of possibility. The other thing that we'll jump over to here is there's actually a lot of analysts, so a lot of analysts giving price targets. So there's 41 analysts giving price targets, and they have an average price target of basically 1,000 of Chinese yuan, of Chinese currency. And what that comes out to is a $152 basically price target for Alibaba stock. So that's interesting. I mean, that's almost a double up from where it's at right now. But you know, there's still a lot that needs to happen for the stock to kind of recover into that area. And a lot of these price targets are 1 year. So this one is 1 year. This Seeking Alpha article, they were talking about 180, but that's over, you know, a 2 to 3 year period is what they're thinking. So personally, I don't plan on selling the stock. I think holding it for the next 2 to 3 years, I don't really see any problems with that. I think the Chinese economy is, you know, weak right now, but I think eventually they're probably going to fall in suit with the rest of the world. They are shutting down schools, doing all these things that are going to have a huge effect on their economy. Their GDP is going to fall even worse than the US. And if they want to stay competitive, I think they're going to have to, you know, fall back in line with the rest of the world. So that's just my opinion. Obviously, formulate your own opinion. I personally am not adding any to my Alibaba position, but I'm just holding what I already have. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below. And if you want to see more videos like this one, make sure you hit that sub button. Otherwise, as always, have a wonderful rest of your day.